I'm Theo.
And I'm Juliette.
And this is Apologies Accepted.
We offer an entertaining look at some of the big issues in history by examining public apologies of the famous and infamous.
We're looking at politicians, serial killers, actors, and you.
Send us a public apology you would like to make, and we'll read it on the air and give you a chance to redeem yourself or just get some guilt off your shoulders.
We're here for you. Once a week, maybe more if you're really, really sorry.
Everybody, this is Apologies Accepted, the podcast. And I'm not Theo.
And I'm not Juliette.
And we have both been so busy the last few weeks. Theo can't even tell you how busy he's been, but I'm going to ask him to tell you. Theo, tell us, what's shaking, bacon?
Oh my God, Theo, please tell us how miserable your life has been and how awful and how much you hate the house. And yeah, it has been. So everybody, apologies from me. I have been very busy setting up a house that was empty. So when I say setting up, that's like, gotta buy a rug, gotta get curtains, gotta find a chair, right? Blah, blah, blah. And getting things together so that we can rent the house out to people on vacation. So all the misery that I'm going through with rewiring the house, do air conditioning, getting a refrigerator, and picking out artwork and bedding and all that stuff. My misery is so that other people can have a beautiful vacation.
There you go.
I'm such a giver. He's just giving, giving, giving.
You are.
I am. And so on that front, Juliette came down for 3 to 4 days to see me and save me from my misery. And it was great. And so we had a lot of time in real life together, which was awesome. And she gave me some pointers to make the house even better for vacationers. So you'll be happy to know
house.
There's a garbage can in the bathroom
Yay.
now. Yay!
All right. That's the important thing.
That's
the
an
garbage can in
oversight.
the bathroom.
Yes. And so, yeah. And my friend Vanessa has come down to visit. She's staying for 4 weeks and she is helping with rewiring and plumbing. I hate the word handy, but she's very handy. Her dad was a contractor who built houses in the UK. And so she's very familiar with laying a floor, right? She's just seen people do it and learned growing up through childhood. And so she's bought a couple of houses and fixed them up herself. And it's great to say, oh my gosh, that light's flickering. That's probably just a loose wire in the fuse box. And all we need to do is like go buy a new breaker. What? We don't have to spend $1,000 to have somebody come out and do that for us? Yay. So yes, we're getting down to the wire. We go live October 1st and my life will then go back to normal. And I very much looking forward to getting back to Austin. And
what day do you go back to Austin?
September 29th. I'm leaving here at 6 a.m.
Okay.
10-hour drive to El Paso. And I'm actually kind of excited about that part of it because between El Paso and Austin, I have passed through what I formerly referred to as Trump country.
Yeah.
And now I get to see like how many signs are up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
Yep. Because when he first ran, it would look like a fucking Trump parade through down the highway, right? Different ranches with flags and banners and photos of his face on flags, American flags. And it's just like, oh, God. And then the last time he ran, when he lost, there were noticeably fewer.
That's great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And what I'm noticing out here in Palm Springs, which is, I'm going to say 50-50. I haven't really taken an official poll, but, it's 50% conservative Republicans and 50% like, I don't know, everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the past, I have seen a fair number of Trump signs. I haven't seen any yet.
That's great.
Not a one.
Wow.
Seeing a lot of Harris Walls signs, which
Yay.
On one hand, I would kind of expect as California, Southern California in particular, I would expect to see some, but it's the only thing I see. However, it doesn't matter what you put in your yard. It matters what you do in the voting booth.
Ballot. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
what? That was good. I was going to say put in your mouth, and I was like, that's a dumb joke. Yes, exactly. So it doesn't matter what you put in your yard. It matters what you put on your ballot. And we'll see. Just because there's no sign doesn't mean that people aren't going to vote for him.
Exactly. Fingers crossed
Ugh.
that they don't.
Ugh.
I guess you saw Dick Cheney. I told you Dick Cheney came out in support of Harris. Yeah, which is surprising because we both thought he was dead.
Totally thought he was dead. Was there a seance?
It must have been. Yeah.
But, good.
It's good, though.
And I will say that I think the Harris campaign has really figured out the formula for dealing with Russia, MAGA, Donald Trump, right?
Good.
And that is, the nation is sick of it. We're sick of they're sick of Trump. They're sick of Russian propaganda talking points. No, we're sick of the division.
Yeah.
Tired of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely done with it. I don't need to agree with your politics, but I don't have to hate every single thing about you because you support a different political. Although at this point in time, yes, I do. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I probably wasn't going to like a third of the country anyway if I'd met them.
Oh, at least.
Yeah, at least. So I'll leave it there. And what about you? What is Shake and Bacon? How are you doing?
So I'm doing great. As you mentioned, I came out to visit you, which was a blast. And it was great to see your house, which I love. I'm sorry that you hate it. I hope you'll find a way to enjoy it before you leave or at some point in the future. And you don't just sell it to get rid of it because you hate it so much. But everything works out for the best in the end, as always. So whatever happens, happens. And after I went to visit you, I went out to New Mexico to check out the house that my family has there, and also see my cousin Gwen, who lives out there now as well in her yurt. And then we went to the Santa Fe Opera, which was a blast. In the previous incarnation, we tried to do this episode a little earlier and we had some technical difficulties. So we're having to repeat it now. But I did mention the Santa Fe Opera being amazing, an amazing modern masterpiece. It's just beautiful. It's open air. You can see all the scenery around you from your seat, and the acoustics are amazing and the people were amazing. And it was just a blast. So I had a really good time. And it's nice to be home now with Brent, but I'll be taking off in a couple weeks for Copenhagen, where I'll be for 8 or 9 days. And then after that, I'll be in New York for a long weekend. So I think that'll be fun. That will be fun. And then hopefully in the new year, I'll be able to start working full time again so I can make more money to travel. That's my plan. So our story today, we're talking about Lady Diana, or Princess Diana, whatever you want to call her. And I have relied very heavily for this piece on an article from Time Magazine from 2017 and ChatGPT. So we'll see how that turns out.
Right. All errors are
ChatGPTs. Yes, not Time Magazine's and certainly not mine. So the rise of tabloid newspapers in Britain, sparked by the Sun in the late 1960s, led to a surge in demand for paparazzi photographs. By the mid-'80s, with Diana Spencer and Prince Charles embarking on their first public engagements as a married couple, celebrity images had become a fixture in UK print media. Diana quickly became an international fashion icon, endearing herself to the British public, who affectionately called her the People's Princess. Following the television broadcast of Diana's wedding to Charles, which drew an estimated 750 million viewers, can you imagine? Holy crap. That's huge. I didn't realize how many people that was, but now you'd never get that. Well, maybe you would get that now, but that's just incredible. Anyway, after that was broadcast, the paparazzi began capturing every detail of her life. She became the most photographed person in the world, with photographers being offered up to £500,000, which was about $650,000 for even the most blurred images of her. She was given the nickname the Princess of Sales in the industry. One of her most prominent pursuers, Jason Fraser, earned over £1 million from selling photos of Diana with Dodi Fayed. The former picture editor at the Daily Mirror, Ian Dowd, recalled, she was probably the most photogenic person I could ever recall. Editors couldn't get enough of her. The tragic car crash in Paris that claimed Diana's life in August 1977 led to an inquest jury declaring she was unlawfully killed, due to both the reckless driving of her chauffeur and the pursuing paparazzi. This verdict served as a wake-up call for Britain's press. A 1997 Gallup poll revealed that 43% of the UK public held photographers extremely responsible for the crash, while 33% attributed equal blame to the chauffeur. James Rogers, who was working for the BBC at the time, described the public's grief during her funeral as incredible. He noted, "You saw people weeping openly in the streets in a way I had never seen before, and that was a real change. If anyone asked me when Britain's stiff upper lip ended, I would have said then." In the wake of Diana's death, the media landscape and photographic practices in Britain changed significantly. Mark Stevens, a media law expert, noted that Diana's death led to a broader recognition of privacy, which had previously been largely disregarded. Prior to her death, privacy laws were minimal and mostly applied in specific settings like medical or confessional contexts. The Protection from Harassment Act, introduced in the same year as Diana's death, was not fully effective until June 16, 1997, just 2.5 months before her passing. Consequently, the act became a key tool for celebrities seeking protection from intrusive media. In the decades since Diana's death, media practices have evolved, though intrusive behavior persists. The British press generally adheres to what Mark Stevens calls the red carpet rule. While photographing the royals during official engagements is accepted, there is an expectation of privacy during other times. Stricter privacy laws have made paparazzi more cautious about photographing younger royals, fearing warnings or fines. As a result, unofficial photos of the royal family have diminished in market value. According to Ian Down, former Daily Mirror picture editor, these days, picture desks will ask photographers and newspapers will ask agencies certain questions about celebrity photos. The circumstances of how the pictures were taken, where the photographer was standing, what lens they were taken on. This process didn't necessarily start immediately after Diana's death, but evolved because of it.
Interesting. I had no idea about that.
Yeah, it is interesting. I guess her death brought about some positive things. It's kind of hard to say that, but the celebrities are somewhat more availed of privacy now than they were before she died, which is unfortunate that she had to die for that to happen, but it is a good thing in the long run. And you said you had some items to talk about?
Oh, do I? And quite short items as well. So
Okay.
The first one is, I thought I would share this. It's a regurgitation, let's call it. Basically what you just said in regards to the tabloid industry and the apology. And then I've got a little bit about the start of the British tabloid industry.
Oh, cool.
But this one I like because lazy writing. The writer's name is Cindy Loose, Loose.
Oh, wow.
From September 3rd, 1997. And this is from the Washington Post. So conservative newspaper, going to have a little bit of a right-wing slant. But here's what they have to say on September 3rd, 1997, just a couple of days after Princess Diana's death. Kmart Corporation and the area's two biggest supermarket chains, Safeway and Giant Food, I've never heard of Giant Food, pulled the current issue of the National Enquirer from their shelves yesterday, citing respect for Princess Diana. A front-page headline of the tabloid, printed before the car crash that took the lives of Princess Diana and Dodi Fayed, reads, "Di goes sex mad," and supposedly quotes her about her appetites.
Huh.
We felt it inappropriate in light of the tragedy. Oh, gee, you think? We felt it inappropriate of light of the tragedy, said Safeway's Director of Public Affairs, Gregory Tynek. Oh, Tenek. I was like, Tynek? That's a weird name. Okay, got it. The nation and the world are mourning her, and we felt shoppers should not be assaulted by this headline. I like the use of the word assaulted. Safeway, unlike Kmart and Giant, also decided to pull this week's issue of another tabloid, The Star, because of a story that details Diana's relationship with Fayed and features pictures of them together on a Love Boat cruise. The Eastern Division manager Mike Bessiere decided yesterday morning that they should all read the tabloids their stores sell to check for possible problems. They went to the nearest Safeway supermarket to buy them and decided two were particularly exploitive. The decision angered editors and both politicians who noted that all the major media are reviewing Diana's life and history. It's not a negative story. Di goes sex mad. It's upbeat. Showing how deliriously happy she is for the first time in years, said David Perel, executive director of the Enquirer. Sure, it's a sexual story. and I can't get enough is a descriptive phrase, but this woman was just starting to enjoy life, and this is an element of it. Wow, is a real talk about spinning. You've been working in PR too long, brother. Let's see here. So basically, the executives were widely praised for announcing they would not be, tabloid executives were widely praised for announcing they would not buy or publish photographs of the crash, which was great. And then basically the newspapers themselves, Enquirer and Star, had asked the chains not to pull the issues initially, but then later said, okay, good decision, guys. Not the first time that newspapers or tabloids have been pulled off of supermarket shelves. The same was done for a John Benet Ramsey story, which I recall John Benet Ramsey, but I don't remember what story. It seemed like everything about that case was printed and shown everywhere. Okay, but so tabloids, I can't say what are they and where do they come from. Everybody kind of knows what a tabloid is. And so let's look at the birth of the British tabloid industry, right? And more lazy writing. Alfred Harmsworth. Alfred Harmsworth, later known as Lord Northcliffe, was a pivotal figure in the evolution of the newspaper industry in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Born in 1865, he had an early interest in journalism and initially started working as a journalist at the age of 15. He quickly identified the potential for a new form of newspaper that catered to a growing literate public that craved quick, digestible news. So in the late 1880s in the UK, literacy shot up. It went from like 50% to about 97%. And this was a government effort to have an educated workforce, right? Now, of course, more people were actually working in factories at that point in time as well. And so what you had was a workforce that had some money, but didn't have a lot of time. And the newspapers of the day were, I don't want to say written for the elite, but, you know, basically they were written for the elite. So they were long, they dove into nuance, they were quite wordy. And Harmsworth came up with the concept of short sentences, short paragraphs, big catchy headlines, right? That's what he brought. And it was so successful, he ended up with 4 different newspapers and became the Rupert Murdoch of his day. Okay, so in 1896, Harmsworth launched the Daily Mail, which would become the first successful tabloid newspaper in Britain. This marked a significant shift in the newspaper industry as the Daily Mail introduced a more sensationalist style of reporting, often focusing on entertainment, celebrity gossip, and scandalous news. The tabloid format was characterized by its smaller size, the literal size of the paper, bold headlines, and use of sensational imagery, making it visually appealing and easily consumable for readers. This format resonated with the public, who found the content more entertaining and accessible compared to traditional newspapers. And what's worth noting is that when the Daily Mail was first published, Harmsworth spent some time advertising. So there were advertisements on, subway cars and buses, right? Or carriages, because I don't know the buses in the 1880s.
Probably not buses.
But maybe they had something. Anyway, he spent a lot of money advertising, and the initial run of the paper was 100,000 copies, and that sold out in the morning. So they printed another 297 copies of that paper that day, right? And so he sold 397,000 copies of his first paper in a day. Huge, giant success, right? And he didn't hold that formula to himself. He actually just kind of explained it when people, and when I say people, I mean reporters, questioned him about his success. He was like, look, people don't have a lot of time to read, and they don't want to read about, war for 4 pages. They want to know what's going on, and then they want to be entertained. The success of the Daily Mail paved the way for other tabloid publications, including the Daily Mirror, which was launched in 1903. And Harmsworth firmly believed that newspapers should not only inform, but entertain, and that viewpoint would shape the future of journalism. Throughout his career, Harmsworth expanded his media empire, acquiring several other publications, and he was elevated to the peerage as Lord Northcliffe in 1908, a recognition for his contribution to journalism and media. His legacy continued to resonate even after his death in 1922, as the tabloid format evolved and laid groundwork for contemporary media practices. And so, I would say the only other thing I might add to all that is, where does the word tabloid come from? Mm-hmm. It seems to have been born out of the atmosphere from the pharmaceutical industry. So they had alkaloid, which was condensed down into tablets and called tabloids. Oh. And that term eventually became used for a while for anything that was condensed.
I see.
Right? And got stuck on the newspapers and stayed.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I didn't know that. I never knew that.
I never knew that either. So thank you, History of the World podcast. That was quite good info to share with Theo, who desperately needed it this morning when he was cramming for his homework. So that's what I've got. And awesome. Let's move forward. Look at that apology.
Yeah. So as Theo mentioned, when Diana died, the then current issue of the National Enquirer, a supermarket tabloid, had a front page picture of the princess with the headline, "Di goes sex mad," about her relationship with Dodi Fayed. Some shops withdrew copies from sale. Others had them ripped off the shelves by angry individuals and in some cases burnt. The paper's editor, Steve Cox, said the coincidence of the cover with her...
Oh, stop.
Oh, yeah. No, it's COZ, C-O-Z.
Okay.
I said it wrong. Steve Coz said the coincidence of the cover with her death was an unfortunate circumstance. "We apologize for the Princess Diana page 1 headline, 'Di goes sex mad,' which is still on the stands at some locations," announced the National Enquirer. "It is currently being replaced with a special 72-page tribute issue of farewell to the princess we all loved." So, ridiculous.
We're gonna, all the money that we're gonna lose from pulling this one issue, we're gonna regain with our special 72-page 4-color. Yeah,
exactly. I didn't go through all the criteria, or I won't go through all the criteria for this because it doesn't. None of them apply except for the fact that they said we apologize. It's the only thing they did. So they're just taking the death as another way to make money with their 72-page tribute issue, a farewell to the princess we all loved. Obviously, they didn't love her so much, or they wouldn't have been putting out ad papers with the headline, "Di goes sex mad."
Oh, but Julia, it's a celebration of her life. Sex mad means happy.
So I give this apology a 1.
I also gave this apology a 1 and would not accept it.
Absolutely not.
Yes, because not really an apology. And on one hand, tabloids are doing what the public wants them to do.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't want the tabloids to be doing it, people wouldn't be buying them.
But we don't have to cater to everyone's worst instincts, in my opinion. So.
What?
But yeah. So that's the apology. And my question for you now is, do you have a who's sorry now or an apology expected?
Oh, apology expected. And sorry to get political. Get it? Sorry. But so it's going to be from George W. Bush.
Oh.
Who has publicly stated he will not publicly tell anybody who he is voting for. He is not endorsing any candidate, which, W, come on. That means that you're not supporting Trump.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, exactly. He's embarrassed, not embarrassed, but he's afraid of backlash if he doesn't support Trump. So he's not going to admit that he's endorsing Harris or voting for Harris.
I mean, Voldemort told everybody who he was voting for, Dick Cheney. So
that's true.
So
why not you, George W. Bush? Stop painting and make a stand.
Yeah, I think he wants to forget that he was ever president.
I think
so. Welcome to that club.
So do we, yeah.
Yeah. So apology expected from him later, right? Sorry, I didn't say anything publicly. And would it sway some, would W's endorsement of Harris sway anybody.
Might.
If Voldemort's doesn't sway, then who's so tied to W that they're like, ugh. But yeah.
You're right.
Anyway, we'll say that's at least one thing that Dick Cheney has done right in his life.
Yes.
Putting country over party. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service.
Yes.
And so I do have also an apology expected, and it's from our friend who always provides material, Elon Musk.
No!
Elon Musk, I expect an apology from him for being an idiot because...
Come on.
He's predicting that there will be crewed, or I guess that's a new way of saying manned. There will be crewed SpaceX flights to Mars by 2028, which is 4 years from now, and a self-sustaining city on the planet by 2044, which is 20 years from now. So there's no way there might be a flight to Mars, but there's not going to be a self-sustaining city on Mars by 2044. I'm sorry, there's no way that's possible. And even an idiot like Elon Musk should be able to recognize that. I will eat my words. I will eat my hat if there is a self-sustaining city on the planet by 2044. I have just the hat to eat too, the big straw hat that I will happily eat if this becomes true, but I don't expect him eating any hats. So, apologize, Elon.
Why would we need I get it. Space exploration. Move out.
Well, we need to leave this planet because of climate change. So this planet is going to hell. So we need a replacement planet. I guess it's going to be Mars, according to Elon.
Like termites, we've got to just move to a new host so that we can consume it. Sure.
Exactly.
No wonder the aliens haven't introduced themselves to us.
Well, right. Would you? No.
No.
All right, everyone. Thank you for checking in with us again. We'll be back next week, I believe, but the week after that we probably won't because I'll be in Copenhagen.
How dare you? You better be available at 3:00 in the morning Copenhagen time to record.
You never know. Maybe I will. Thanks, everyone. Don't trip potato chips.
It's stay cool cucumbers.
I switched it around.
That's all right. It's been a while. I'm surprised we even remembered any of the format at all.
Yeah, that's right. All right, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Apologies Accepted, the podcast.
You can find links to the articles and the sources in the show notes.
To submit an apology or find out more, visit us at apologiesaccepted.net, where you can also find our merchandise.
We're on Twitter at Apologies Accepted.
And on Instagram at apologies.accepted.
You can support our important work at Patreon.com/Apologies Accepted.
And fuck Facebook.
Bye.
Bye.